talk about a passion of mine that sort of developed over the course of the last 8 years, and that's health and wellness. This topic is not something that I chose. I knew very little about health and wellness. I took the hard road to understanding health and wellness, and I think by sharing my story, it resonates with people to maybe have you all think about what health and wellness means to you, not only physically in the food, which we'll talk about more specifically tonight, but what does it mean on an emotional level? What does it mean on a spiritual level? So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So the topic of health and wellness is so broad and diverse. We could spend days talking about it. And what I want to do tonight is talk about, I want to break it down and talk about 3 main issues. What are some of the health issues our children are facing, and how some of this is preventable? What's the problem with the food supply in our country today? Our food system has collapsed. And then what are some tips that you all can take home with you for yourselves, for your children, to begin or continue to educate yourself on some of the issues that are hurting our kids? You know, I mentioned that I did not choose this road lightly. I wrote this book because it took me 10 years of following Western medicine. Western medicine's great. It has a lot of benefits. It's life-saving. But what would it take for us to look at our health from a idea of disease prevention rather than just managing our diseases and being dependent on doctors and pharmaceuticals to sustain our lives? As it stands now, and St. Agnes is definitely included in this, we're sort of limping along the way in terms of our health. You know, we are experiencing disease on a level that we're not prepared to handle. The medical community is not prepared to handle. There's a huge financial issue. There's an emotional issue. If we're suffering in general as a whole, as a society, and we're stuck in the physical and trying to figure out how we're going to help heal ourselves, we're never going to take care of ourselves emotionally, which will then evolve us to understanding who we are as a spiritual being. We're not physical. This is just a vehicle. We're spiritual beings, and when we're sick and suffering and in pain, we can't see beyond that. We can't see why we're here. What is our purpose in life? So this started out for me with my son Frankie. Very briefly, he was diagnosed with allergy and asthma, basically from 1 to 10 years old. He was on over 100 different antibiotics, medications, inhalers, steroids, nebulizer machine treatments to sort of get a handle on his symptoms that were daily, they were chronic, and they were getting worse. So finally I said no more, and I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going to go for help, but I knew that's what I needed to do for him. And that's what I did. I started researching, asking questions, seeking out alternative practitioners to help me get a handle on what was going on. You know, 8 years later, he doesn't go to the doctor. He has no sick visits. He's on no medications, and it really only took about a year for him, with the right foods, with the right supplements, to rebalance his digestive system. The digestive system is probably one of the most important systems in our body, and we don't take care of it. So that's his journey. The second medical crisis in my family that really helped me evolve to understanding not only the physical aspects, but also the emotional and the suffering, and that was my own journey. I had a brain tumor removed about 4 years ago, a benign brain tumor. And I have to stop and pause here for a second. This community of people is the most extraordinary group of people I've ever associated myself with. I've lived in lots of different states, lots of different schools with my kids, but the generosity and love that St. Agnes parents give to others, truly, I describe it in the book as holy. It's holy. If you don't know what giving does to somebody, I'm speechless. I have no words for what it means. So my journey sort of opened my eyes to looking at it, not just from the physical perspective, but from the holistic perspective, which is mind, body, spirit. So that's sort of my journey, and I share it because I feel that it's important that we can create a better environment for ourselves, and we can overcome, and we can heal. It doesn't matter what someone tells you. So I want to break it down and come to our kids, which is really the most important topic tonight. We spend $4 trillion a year on healthcare in this country. $4 trillion. It's unfathomable what we spend. So that tells me, wow, this generation of kids is going to be the healthiest generation to ever have lived. And it's just not so. I have a few statistics. There's tons more, but I know that we're all busy and have places to go, but I just want to give you a brief idea. 1 in 10 kids today are diagnosed with asthma. 6.4 million of our kids are diagnosed with ADHD. That number increases every year, as does the number of kids that are on medication. That doesn't even talk about the behavioral issues, the family issues surrounding a child with behavioral difficulties, the implications for school, the financial implications for school. So when we're talking about these symptoms and diseases, it's not just the physical, there's so much more involved. If your child was born right at 2000, the year 2000 and above, so that's pretty much everyone's child here today, they have a 1 in 3 chance of developing diabetes as a young person. As an adult, same thing, 1 in 3 chance of developing type 2 diabetes. That used to be a disease that older people got, after having lived 50, 60 years. Their kids are getting it now, very, very young. The obesity rate has tripled, and part of that is what they're doing to our food that we don't know about that's causing fat tissue to people are getting obese because what's happening is the toxins and chemicals that are in our food and our air all around us, our bodies don't know what to do with it, so we develop fat cells to hold those chemicals and toxins that are then never released out of the body. Our children have a 1 in 285 chance of getting cancer before their 20th birthday. That's shocking. It's the #1 cause of disease-related death for children. Cancer is 95% preventable. For all the women in this room, 1 in 8 of us will develop invasive breast cancer in our lifetime. 1 in 2 of us, well, it's 1 in 3, and very shortly it will be 1 in 2 of us will develop cancer in our lifetime. So you can look to your left and to your right and know that somebody is going to develop cancer. Food allergies are increasing. 1 in 5 of our kids have a mental, emotional, behavioral disorder. 1 in 13 of them are on some form of psychiatric medication. 1 in 4 of our kids are showing signs of heart disease. They're now diagnosing kids with non-fatty alcoholic liver disease. So again, the list can go on and on and on, and I'm not going to talk about digestive disorders our kids are seeing now. The lack of sleep, lack of exercise. Our kids spend 7.5 hours a day on average in front of some form of screen. Depression, anxiety, suicide. I think suicide is the number 6 cause of death in this country. Stress, pressure, what that means to these kids. With the world today, I can't even process it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, to stay grounded with all the chaos. How are our kids processing this? EMFs, phones, radiation, low levels of radiation everywhere. Is this impacting our kids? Some say yes, some say no. It truly depends on where you're getting your research. Who are you going with in terms of looking at studies? Smart meters. So again, these stats are alarming to me, and I know they are to you. And again, I'm not even going to talk about what's in our air, what's in our water, what's in the vaccines that's causing concerns, what's in our beauty products. A woman typically getting ready for her day will be exposed to over 168 chemicals. That's just getting ready for your day before you sit down for breakfast. The cleaning supplies, the toxic fumes we're inhaling. So, you know, while this part of my speech is doom and gloom, there is hope, but it takes a community, and I know that's what St. Agnes is all about. So one of the things I love about St. Agnes is, and being Catholic and having a faith, is when we sit down to eat a meal, it's one of the only times in the day where we stop and give thanks to God, and we're grateful for what we have. But then the next step we do is we eat food. And that food today in America is filled with so many toxins and chemicals that I believe is having a negative effect on all of our health as well as our kids. So most of the ingredients I'm going to talk about, there are over 84,000 chemicals used today. And thousands of those make it into our food supply. I'm going to, as briefly as I can, go over about 8 or 9, and then talk about tips, and then open it up if anyone has any questions. Sugar. It is in everything that I talk about. These ingredients are in all fast food, restaurant food, packaged food, cafeteria food, convenient food, Wawa food. You name it, you're being exposed to it. So sugar, our school-age children should have no more than 4 to 6 teaspoons of sugar a day. I went in the middle, this is 5 teaspoons. This is a Coke. 1 small drink out of the day is what that is. So you multiply that by the added sugar in foods. We drink a lot of sugar. It's a real problem. Why is it a problem? Well, sugar feeds cancer. It aggravates Lyme's disease. It feeds Candida. Candida is a chronic yeast infection. That's ultimately what my son was diagnosed. So we were treating him for allergy and asthma, and it turned out that his gut was so unhealthy and so toxic that Candida yeast, we all have yeast in our body, but it can take hold when we're stressed, we eat poorly, we take antibiotics. When we take an antibiotic or we give an antibiotic to our kid, we are upsetting the natural balance in our gut. We're killing all the bacteria, good and bad. So the only thing left is yeast. And when yeast have the opportunity to thrive, it can wreak havoc and cause many types of diseases. So it feeds cancer, Lyme's disease, Candida, contributes to heart disease. It basically kills our cells, a slow cell death. It suppresses the immune system. It causes us to have fluid retention. It changes the structure of our DNA. It causes hyperactivity. It's addictive. We talk about kids and adults being addicted to things. This is, you know, people don't understand. Our kids are addicted now. They're addicted to sugar now. Sugar affects the brain, and it hits the pleasure center in the brain. So if they already know now, ooh, sugar, I like it, I come down, I need more sugar, what's going to happen when they get to the teens and the 20s and they're now experimenting with other drugs that are also reaching the pleasure center? So they already have an idea of what it feels like to be addicted to something. The second thing, high fructose corn syrup. Again, in everything. Oh, I'm sorry, I see a lot of people writing. I have a handout that sort of summarizes for you if you want one at the end. High fructose corn syrup. Again, it's a highly chemicalized new product. It's in everything. What we need to understand about high fructose corn syrup, with sugar, I always explain it this way. You have fructose and glucose. Your body, when you drink or eat sugar, your body then has to process it, right? It breaks it down. Your digestive system breaks it down, and then it goes into your body. With high fructose corn syrup, fructose and glucose are not bound. Fructose is sweeter, and when we ingest it, we don't process anything. It goes straight to the bloodstream. So it damages the pancreas. It increases the size of the liver. So it's just something to be aware of when you're buying your packaged food. Wheat and gluten, it's made very differently today than it was generations ago. People have been eating gluten for thousands of years. The way that we process it, things to be watchful with gluten. Again, it's in everything. They're using it as a filler now for everything. The amount we eat is increasing because it's in everything. We've genetically engineered it to contain more gluten protein. And I think one of the hidden risks of gluten is that we now spray it 3 days before harvest with pesticides. And we all know that pesticides are chemicals and damaging to our body. Corn, again, to realize that it's in everything. We don't digest corn. Our body doesn't know how to process it. So just something to be careful of. It's a GMO product. It contains mercury. And again, we're spraying with pesticides. Soy used to be the go-to healthy. China's been using soy for generations. The issue with our soy is it's not fermented. So in its unfermented state is not healthy. So that causes a lot of hormonal issues. Fruits and veggies, we spray 1 billion pounds of pesticides on fruit and vegetables every year in this country. We genetically alter our fruits and veggies to carry certain traits. If we want veggies to, so the newest GMO is non-browning apples. So we figured out how to genetically engineer an apple so it won't turn brown. So you, the consumer, have no idea if you're purchasing a good apple, a fresh apple, or something that's been sitting there for weeks. Potatoes are GMO just recently. Salmon, big salmon fish people, healthier option, right? Well, what they're doing now is they want to be able to produce salmon all year long, so they have genetically modified it. What they're doing is they're taking DNA of another fish and inserting it into the salmon so that the salmon can spawn all year. They're farm raised with chemicals. So there's lots of concerns. The newest GMO that's just been approved, pink pineapple. Not out yet, but will be probably within the next year or so. Dairy, another one to be careful of. We add a laboratory-made hormone, RBGH, into our dairy. When we look at dairy cows, in 1950, a dairy cow produced 5,300 pounds of dairy or milk a year. Today, that number is anywhere between 21 and 24,000 pounds of milk a year. So it's, you know, we're feeding them and injecting them with stuff. They're getting sick. Their milk is infected with their infection, and we're drinking it. Not to mention that we pasteurize and I can never say this word. Homogenize. Thank you. The milk, so it's really a dead product until we add synthetic vitamins back in. You know, I can go on and on and on. Cellulose, wood pulp, actual wood pulp makes up our shredded cheese so that it's not clumping together. We have petroleum and coal tar ingredients in our snacks for our kids. Nitrates are a huge issue with processed meats. Processed meats by the World Health Organization is a probable carcinogen, caramel coloring, artificial sweeteners, MSG, hydrogenated oils, and again, I could go on and on, but for the sake of time, what can we do, right? What is the hope that's out there? I think just being educated is one. Really taking control back from what these companies are doing. And we're seeing it. You go to Giant, the local Giant, you see now how many aisles of organic food there are, even with the fruits and veggies. And that's because we're demanding it. They're not doing it because they think it's the right thing to do. They're doing it because we, the consumer, with the money, are making them do it. So that's a really important piece. So education. Once we're educated, then we can become empowered to act. And that's the final piece, is acting. To use our dollars wisely in a way that makes sense, not only for us, but for our kids. Read labels. Know where your food comes from. We have no idea where our food comes from or how it's produced. We send our chicken to China to be processed to then come back to the United States. Reduce sugar, do not drink it. Eat at home, maybe less fast food, convenient food. Prepare the night before with snacks or on-the-go meals for yourself. Increase your whole foods. So the American diet is considered the SAD diet, the standard American diet. We want to go to a GLAD diet, a green, living, alkalizing diet. When we're acidic, which all the things I just talked about, stress and drugs and alcohol and the food we're eating, the chemicals in the beauty supplies, the stress and worry of the world and our kids, we're teetering on acidity, which is causing disease, and we have to find a proper balance. Through whole foods, we can begin to alkalize the body. Fruits and veggies, nuts, seeds, beans, healthier meats, healthier fish, not farm raised. Sleep. Our school-age kids need 9 to 11 hours of sleep a night. It is so, so important. It's how our body rejuvenates, it restores itself from the inside out. When we're not getting enough sleep, we're not doing that. We're adding to the stress of our body. Adults, it's 7 to 9 hours. Get the body moving, exercise. These kids, we adults, we have to exercise. It's how we remove toxins out of our body. We have to get the lymph system activated and moving. Hydrate. It's probably the #1 disease in America. We do not hydrate. We do not drink enough water. Half your body weight in ounces of water a day. It's a lot. It can be overwhelming. Just see if you can increase your water intake. Have a glass at your bedside when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night. Make it a mission to drink more water. A big thing that's not necessarily food related, it can be food related, is to simplify. We're so, myself included, we're so on the go and so stressed out. And, you know, having gone through my experience, I can now say, for what? Why was I doing it? Why was I killing myself to do this, this, and this? That it's okay to say no when appropriate. It's okay to draw boundaries when appropriate. Think about clean holiday food. We live to eat. We need to eat to live. We need to reverse it. Breathe, mindfulness. Most of us breathe from here to here. We need to breathe fully into our whole upper body. So that's a big piece too. And I think the most important piece of all this, love who you are, love what you do, give yourself to the world. I think we're here for 2 reasons: to love and to learn how to love in this world, and to give. That's my philosophy anyway. To not hold grief, not hold shame, not hold guilt, to let go of forgiveness for yourself and for others. the emotional toll that we put on ourselves can cause disease. So when you let go of that, it's a huge, huge freedom for yourself. And I think we're all in this together. Some of this might be new for you, new information, but I appreciate y'all listening and taking the time to be here. So. Any questions that I can answer quickly? I know everyone's got things to do. Yeah.
What's the title of your book?
Finding the Way.
Okay. And does it have kind of a diet?
So, yeah, so the book it tells my family story very briefly, but it's more about you. This is not, everyone has a story, and everyone has, good things and traumas and crises. So mine is no more important than anyone else's. So the crux of the book is looking at water, vaccines, food, the whole 9 yards, and more specifically, more detailed, what you can begin to do if you want to make changes. And that's really, it's a personal decision as to whether or not you want to educate yourself on this, because, again, we're so inundated with information. And the idea here is not to stress yourself out, but say, hey, what can I do to make myself feel better on a day-to-day basis? How can I help my kid who's suffering with behavioral symptoms that nobody can help me with?
The book is great, by the way. And you do have a lot of practical lists and things to refer to.
I did bring a few extra copies only if it resonates with somebody, and that's the key. I could be speaking to 2 people or 30 people. Somebody's here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I'm not generally a public speaker, but I know that this is my calling, to pass on the knowledge that I've learned to share with somebody else. So.
Any other questions? Oh, there's one back there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I found what you were saying just incredible. A lot of that information, I know some, and I didn't know others. And I don't know if this is even something that would be feasible, but it would be wonderful for like our middle school, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, to be able to hear some of the things you said, because it's astounding when you think about even just the fact of sugar. That descriptive is so incredible, and if that could be some kind of assembly that the older kids could listen to, and you'd be willing to come and speak, and if we could have you come, I just think that we just shared such a wealth of information that I think they actually almost need to hear it. I can say it 25 times, don't drink soda, but if it came from somebody like you, put it out there.
I use other people with my kids all the time. It's the way to go. Because a mom can say it 35 times and forget it. I've been trying to get my son Frankie, or all the kids, to stop with the plastic water bottles. I've been saying it for years. I don't buy it, so they buy it. And he works with a nutritionist, and she said to him like a couple weeks ago, you should really buy a water bottle. Like the next day, the kid comes home with a reusable water bottle. So yes, I mean, I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy to come during school hours and talk with parents about it. Whatever St. Agnes parents need, but it is a big issue, and it can be tackled. I think it's just, delving into some of the issues.
Oh, Elizabeth, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
We are truly grateful for your presence here tonight, because fabulous information that we all need to know, and I'll just put it out there. I am 10 days chocolate free. And that's good. 10 days, including Valentine's Day. Chocolate free. Just saying. Again, thank you, Elizabeth. We are very grateful, and to all of you, thanks for being here tonight and giving of your time and your talent and your treasure. And the treasure of time is, we know, most important. So we are grateful for your being here tonight. And we can always be in touch with Elizabeth. She's always around.
Yeah, I love some brochures and papers that just sort of summarize.
Kathleen, thanks for being here tonight as well. Thanks to all our home and school board who are the best. We truly are grateful. And that diamond necklace. Does it have your name on it?
One ticket.
Good. So thank you all, and look, it's only 8 o'clock, we're good.
Wonderful.